Let's fight. A very good evening to each and every one of you, and welcome in the ring. It's Poshway Monday, or if you're posh, it's Poshway Monday. And I'm so happy that you guys are with us. I know some of you at the edge of your seat, you probably think we ain't coming on. No, 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 stop that. Welcome in the ring, folks. Whether you're joining us on Twitter, you're joining us on YouTube, you're joining us on Facebook, wherever you're joining us from, welcome in the ring. So much to discuss this evening, folks. It's slow, flat. Lots to discuss with you wherever you're joining us from, home here in Guyana, in the Caribbean, internationally, in the diaspora. Folks, welcome in the ring. Tag a friend. Why don't you retweet? Why don't you share on Facebook? Share on Facebook and subscribe to our channel. And folks, if you follow my page, especially shared every Duncan on Facebook, and you like that page, you're gonna get all of the notifications as soon as we come on live. So you don't have to keep checking all day. But we're happy that you check in. It tells us that you're interested in us and that you care about what happens here. I know some of you, we vex y'all, but y'all keep coming back. That's the kind of bittersweet love that we got with each other. Happy Monday, folks. We hope that it's dry wherever you are. It's not the same for everybody in the country. But nonetheless, we are tremendously happy that you guys have chosen to spend this next hour or so with us. Thank you. We hope you all eat. We got a lot of things to give you all to feed you all this evening. So we hope you got some space there. A lot of things to digest tonight. And I'm going to be joined by Nicole Chalford in a little bit. And she's going to be uh, helping us through some of our hot topics tonight, especially on the slow matter. The slow matter moving fast. The slow matter got the president moving fast. The installed one in Irfan from Ifat University. Let me push my seat back a little bit. Got him moving real fast. So we're following all of that. And we bring to you guys the latest. So guys, you have to subscribe. You got to retweet. You got to share. You got to call your neighbor, Auntie Patsy next door, your Savitry up the road. Tell them in the ring is on. And guys, we are ready to fight. We're ready to fight. Good to have each and every one of you with us. How is the weather where you guys are? We trust that it is good. We're ready with the hot topics. I don't know about you, but I am so ready with the hot topics. So I'm ready with the hot topics. I'm ready to start pelting some punches, folks. And I hope you guys are ready too, because that's what it's all about this evening. Locked and loaded and ready to go. And I think I have Nicole Telford with me. Nicole, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, Nicole is here. Come on down. Nicole, how are you doing? I am so grateful that
I'm
you have
quite.
been with me since for the weekend. We were talking about the flood and so on. First, can you hear Nicole? I hope that you can hear Nicole. I don't want any challenges this evening. Tell me you can hear Nicole.
I'm
Nicole,
right
say
here.
hello. You can
Hope
stop
they're
talking
hearing
now.
me.
Huh?
All right. I hope they're hearing me.
Nicole, how is the weather where you are?
Well, the rains came this afternoon, and again the area was flooded. Many yards and all the drains and water up to your step in some areas. Those who've built their yards up managed to escape a bit, but for the others,
I know them
it's
kind of
flooded.
neighbors. They got more money than you and the bill high.
Yep.
And
And some
because
of them,
you got your $2 like them, you have everything that was supposed to lodge by them, they by you.
yes, it
I know the
drains
kind of
into your
neighbors.
yard.
It's
Hmm.
only because some of them watching it once a shame on y'all. it's only because some of them watch it. But Nicole, it's good to have you, and I hope you didn't get too swamped over the weekend. I know we had a rough weekend. We were on out there on the ground, seeing what's happening around the country, and bring it back to the people live and direct. And I know you had a lot of work to do over the weekend, Nicole.
Yes, I was behind the scenes as I always am, helping those who need help and bringing in information or sending information. And, thanks to MP Ganesh Paul, MP Natasha Singh Lewis, MP Coretta McDonald, MP Christopher Jones, MP Annette Ferguson, who were
Mm-hmm.
all on the ground and bringing the information live via your channel, via Afternoon Rush, via all all the mediums of which we, send information. So
Yeah.
indeed it was good. And thanks to all the people who supported you too. I know you thank them all the time.
Oh yes, thank you guys for being here. Saturday we had a fundraiser at AFC. We had a curry queue, and I had some real beef. And I want to thank all those persons who supported that activity across the political spectrum, across the country, across the racial divide. People came out and supported, and we are grateful for that. Thank you, all of you folks. Now to the hot topics, Nicole. I think we have some issues that really, really showed us that this government is nothing but confusion powder. Nothing but confusion powder. I mean, when you expected them to really step up, they have been such a disappointment. They have been such a damn disappointment. Folks, if y'all want those kinds of real opposition and so on, y'all could we're grateful for y'all that y'all are here because we can be real with y'all. Right? When you expect them to really step up the show, you understand? They disappointed us. They disappointed us. And look, case in point, right? Confusion powder. Now you got Ali trying to get a photo up. In this boat, God knows where we're going. Nobody is wearing a life jacket. Let's start there. And even the police complained that for some reason he ditched the security detail. And I don't know if he perhaps, had a private security firm or what have you. Right? But nobody in this boat and got on jacket. So let us start. That's the first no. Right? That's the first no. And then how the people so upside down? Watch, look at this now. The man on land here now. The man got on a life jacket. Y'all ever say anything like this? Confusion powder, Nicole. Confusion powder.
Con- yes, they were confused. The
Right? The
flood
man
got
on
them
land, he got on a
confused.
life jacket. I don't know. I see a little puddle to the what? My right. I don't know if it's that he frightened. But in the speedboat, and he got no life vest, no life jacket. It is the most bizarre thing. No life jacket in the speedboat, but you land. It's like them people. You take off your glasses to see and put it onto here. Confusion powder, right? Confusion powder. Nicole,
hmm Yes.
I know
Those
when
are
you
the
can't say
images
anything
that
and you
goes
just say,
out.
mm-hmm.
hmm
go, go right ahead, Nicole.
Yeah, those are the images that goes out to the international community, and they see them
And they say we
the
backward.
failures and the
They say we
leadership
backward here,
style and
right?
the leadership style. They see the skills that they have, that they implement. It shows in their aura, everything.
Yeah. I was about to say, when people see this on the international stage, they would think we backward, like we in Somalia, but then I will give Somalia bad name, so I won't even say that.
No, that was what we used to say prior, back in the days. But now we can't say that because even those countries are developing. Guyana get oil. Guyana got all kinds of resources, but they got people in the PPPC with limited resources intellectually.
Yeah, and you know what? My parents used to say, if even if you don't know, pretend. Even if
Yeah,
it's a kono mono. Yeah, but they ain't even trying. I mean, they're making it so easy. You understand me? When you see
and
this
even
kind of madness here,
oh
they're making
yes,
it so
and
easy.
even if you didn't go to school, it got people that didn't go to school far that got better knowledge and understanding than what they're displaying.
Yeah, and we're gonna be following this and some other stories. And look, when the folks went fishing the other night, when they went fishing, that midnight rendezvous, right? I want to know if they see the water rising.
And the water was rising all through that
It was
time.
all the time. All the
But guess
time the
what?
water was
It
rising.
was
As a matter of
another
yeah.
You don't know what they were waiting for or what they went to do. They took out just a photo to show that they're together in the Maya or the mist with the in.
Yeah,
There's what they took out a photo
yeah. I can
for.
see the
But
water
we
high,
don't
high
know
behind them there.
necessarily that they you see any fish on the rod. You see them
No,
showing you any fish that they
I ain't
caught?
seen no. Well, I seen fish, but I ain't seen none on the rod.
No, but you see any fish that they caught? Did you see a bass of
No,
fish,
no, no.
one fish, a
One thing with
cooking
you,
of
you
fish,
specific.
any
Any fish that was caught, you very specific. No, but I see the water high,
good,
high at the back there. High, high, high. But
good.
they see it. You understand me? They who got all of the sense, all of the eyesight, he got on glasses, and he still can't see it. This is the tragedy. We have confusion powder, Nicole. Confusion powder. That's all I can say. That aside, Nicole. That aside. Look, madness here. So while this man should have been in every community today with a long boots on, trying to see what is happening with the Guyanese people, right, and how you can alleviate some of their hardship, right? The man watching Slowe. Slowe had a press conference. Former Assistant Commissioner of Police Paul Slowe had a press conference, and as soon as the press conference done, even if we not the photographs to show, press statement from Ali. Right? You tell me he write his press statement from Linden Region 10, Silver City or Blackbush Polar. No, the man was in the creature comforts, nice and warm, foot dry, watching Paul Slowe and responded immediately after. This is Mr. Trump for you, the local Trump, right? And Nicole, break down some of what Mr. Slowe would have said.
Well, first of all, his quick response indicates his guilt. That's one. He knows what would have happened in that press conference.
Mhm,
He knows he made the call. Notice well, he outlined in his press conference everything. There's the president
mhm,
installed, outlined everything is in his press conference, except to admit that he made a call or
mhm,
several calls.
mhm.
He did not admit that, but he's saying that Ian said this and Ian said that, but Ian said that he didn't call. And
Yeah.
the mere fact that he called and not invited the chairman for a conversation shows his disrespect and that he must resign. That is one thing. What Paul Slowe said in that press conference is, I believe, and you know why I believe it? Paul Slowe and all of those officers came through the ranks. They would have investigated thousands of crimes in this country. And they have gone through all of the ranks and reached top of their profession. They are professionals. They're known throughout the Caribbean for different programs that they would have worked on. I doubt very much that they would sit and have a press conference and not have proof or any backing. The president was scared of that. The mere fact that Paul, yes,
I was going to say
yes, Chairman.
the president, as you said, was very, very scared. He did call Paul Slowe. He did not deny he did not call Paul Slowe. Right? He called Paul Slowe and he tried to influence who gets promoted in the police force because that is who they are. The statement said that he wants the independence of these commissions. Well, under the David Granger-led administration, we give them independence till we give them financial independence. Soon as the PPP come back
Oh,
2 months
yes.
ago, they took all of that away from them through the National Assembly. They took all of that away, and he wants to tell me that he wants to see these agencies function independently of the government. Give us a break, Irfan. You did call, you tried to
He does
influence the
not
promotion
want
of
that.
these fellas, you're a scam.
He did.
Nicole, while
He
on that,
did influence them. And
while we're on
Sharon,
that,
what that
yeah,
reminds you of? What that reminds you of?
scams, the
Again, the
scams
Trump
they are, same old PPP.
administration. Yes, and the Trump and the administration when they called over the guy from the FBI
Very much,
and
yeah,
started
yeah,
try to
yeah.
influence him. You
James Comey,
understand?
yeah,
Right.
wicked,
Try to influence
wicked.
him. Wicked. And that's
Nicole,
why people like
I want to stick up. I want to stick a pin here because we're talking
mhm,
about flood. We're going to come back to Paul Slowe in a little bit. But as these guys should have been looking at the flood over the weekend as well, they tried to throw the mayor under the bus by saying that the mayor wanted to attempt to flood the city.
Ooh.
More lies, more lies. I have David Patterson
Oh.
with me this evening. I want him to come on immediately. Because Mr. Patterson said on social media, he published very publicly that it's nonsense. I want us to hear from him. Former Minister of
Yes.
Infrastructure, David Patterson, welcome this evening.
Hi, Sharad, Nicole. All right, good night, viewers. Pleasure to be
Good
here.
night.
Good night. Pleasure to be here.
David, if
Once again on the
anybody
ring.
understands infrastructure, you do. The work that you did in the David Granger-led administration, APNU, AFC, was nothing short of phenomenal. Tell us about this nonsense that these guys are talking
Can be
about pumps and
challenged
so on. Talk to
by
us about that.
none.
Well, yes. Good night, Sharad. So yes, I saw on social media that the PPP ministers, or whatever it is, or the administration, were driving around last evening or something like that, and they were making claims that the reason why Georgetown was flooded was because pump attendants were asleep. And I found that an astonishing statement coming from another administration. So I immediately posted, valid post, of course, I see it's been shared quite widely, that that went out the window. The reliance on a single pump attendant went out the window since in 2015. A little background, Sherrod, on June the 1st, 2015, and just about 6 days after we assumed office in 2015, there was another flood just like this. You could remember the cabinet was summoned at 4 a.m. in the morning because we thought something was really wrong. Actually, our initial thought was that there was a breach in the conservancy, but it wasn't that. It was purely just like now, high tide. And then, so we were tasked, I was tasked to do a rapid assessment. And in 2015, one of the excuses that we found is that one of the realities we found on the ground, there are 13 now sluices that drain Georgetown. Of that, only 4 were working, 4 were operable. There are 7 pumps. I think only 2 are working. And then what we also found out is that the pump attendants and those things like that, these are guys who work 24 hours. All of them had varying instructions. They would have, some of them would visually look over the sluice and see how high is the water, how high is the tide, and those things like that before they open or before they started pumping. Some of them were told that you don't pump over a certain amount of hours, you got to give the pump a break and those things like that. And that was in 2015. And we never blamed anyone. We recognized the outfalls where the water goes, so was not even dredged in decades. 2 of the sluices were in private businesses. I was a minister, you could recall, I could Google it, that I went to visit a sluice and the guard stopped me, said, no, you got to get the government sluice, I got to get permission from the private business owner and those things like that. We took all of that in 2015. We said, all right, fair enough. This is where we are at. We have a problem. Let us resolve it. So in regards to the pump attendants, we instituted a system. We called in NDIA, the Mayor and City Council, and every single, all the stakeholders, we call in GAPE. They're private citizens. I can remember Stanley Ming had a lot of input in it. And we came with a simple plan. Assign engineers and persons to go and visit the pump stations at a regular basis. Whenever in the mornings, the late Walter Willis used to do that. He lived on somewhere in Republic Park, if I can recall correctly. And he would visit from MacDoom all the way to White's Lane. Then we had some engineers on the East Coast, and they would visit from Mahaica, Hope Canal, and those things like that. And they would do this twice a day during the rainy season. And then we held discussions with the pump attendants. MARAD, which is the maritime industry, they at the beginning of a year, they produce an annual tide table which predicts when the height of the tide every single day and when it will be. So we had discussions with the pump attendant. So the system was never ever up to 2020, August 20th, never ever dependent on a pump attendant. So therefore, I say without any reservations or any, I note that it cannot be successfully contradicted that never ever after June 2015 did we ever hear a report that our Georgetown was flooding because of pump attendants sleeping or those things like that. It's not a one-man job. It's on the entire city. It means a partnership and those things like that. Of course, when
they don't seem to have a partnership with these agencies, however, they don't seem to have one.
Well, yes, Sherrod, everyone knows, and this is not only for Georgetown, but because of course Georgetown, but all of our local government organs are underfunded. The background to that is a long historical background, and so you know that they need help, and if you need help, it is a government responsibility to provide help. So we never said that when we went to Caribbean, we're not helping you because you're PPP controlled township or something like that. Everyone needs help. So what we decided to do as a government is to provide the help. Provide the help in technical capacity, provide the help in financial aid. We repair the pumps, we repair the sluices. And every day during the rainy season, the team would go and then you would get a report saying, well, the sluice at Sussex Street, the pump at Sussex Street is working, but it's short of oil. And then you'd ring City Council and say, well, are you going to look at this? If they're not, we intervene. So it was a collaborative effort between all stakeholders. But what has happened since the PPP came in, they are at war with the City Council. The City Council is financially strapped. That is something, a historical issue. We could go into that at another time, why they are financially strapped. And they have now thrown the entire burden onto the City Council, which I think is absolutely totally unfair. We felt is unfair, and we put in measures and places to alleviate that. So the 5 years under our administration, we had several small little interventions that we did on top of repairing the pumps and so to ensure that the Guyanese, the people in Georgetown in particular and other areas don't suffer what we're suffering here. So going around,
David, in large measure, people have not, because I took a walk in Georgetown this morning, a place that usually historically floods in Georgetown, always since rain set up, is around by courts. It was Crips. And I'm saying this is testament to the work of the APNU AFC. Also, remember, you talk about the small things that the government did, the APNU AFC did. I remember South, my constituency, 14 there, South and so on, North and well, flood soon as the rain set up. The government, APNU AFC, undertook a study. You had some Dutch folks who came down, studied those areas, and you guys went out there, repaired the sluices, diverted water in some places from north through south to get out to Houston and all manner of things. And that relieved lots of the pressure that people used to face. There's a street in South Carolina, I think it's Metahouses Street, through by Festival City. That's Forest Street. Yeah. They used to call it High Step and Lashdown Street because it's always underwater, always got moss, and that became a thing of the past.
Yeah, look, Sherrod, there's one thing is indisputable, is that the amount of effort and what we did with the drainage in the city in those 5 years was uncontestable. It was an amazing job. I can remember diplomats used to come in and said the place smelled different. They were amazed that certain areas could drain. I'm talking there in Bel Air Springs or Bel Air Gardens, wherever it is. We open back the drains there, don't flood and those things like that. And Sherrod, we had a plan. And the plan was simple, and we never ever, wasn't politics, it never used to make the news. Every April, before the May-June rains, we would say to the City Council, start draining the land. Of course, we'd dredge it and those things like that. But we would pull down the water levels in every canal about like a foot to 18 inches before the start of the rain. We know that Georgetown can only take off about 2.5 inches of rain per day. So before the rain start, people, unbeknown to them, we would drain the system. So therefore, when the rain started, we had at least 18 inches in every drain capacity to hold on to. So therefore, that gives us the extra time pull the water off. I mean, we did this without even anybody knowing. It's a costly exercise because you have to run the pumps even when it's not raining and those things like that. They stopped all of that. They stopped all the issues of dredging. They stopped all the issues of working along the city council. You know what I mean? We know that and the NDCs and those things like that. And they just sat down, did nothing, were caught off guard because I mean they're not very bright. So they didn't know. No one said to them, well, you know, I mean, May, June is typically the rainy season in Guyana. They sat down and beginning of May wasn't a lot of rain, and that's what they did. But I'm
When
telling you,
they should have
Jared,
been preparing, they went fishing.
they were fishing, and they were at sea. Not really fishing; they were at sea. And so sit down and to blame the flooding in Guyana on sleeping pump attendants. Here are
And
ridiculous.
Sherrod,
Even
Sherrod,
if that is true,
Patterson, if I might add,
even if the pump attendants which as I said, I told you, even if that is true, the pumps only work during the high tide, and that is a period of 4 to 6 hours period between the tides. Right, so when the sluices are open, the pumps can't work. The pumps are there when the water on the riverside is higher than the water on inland. Then is when you run the pump. When the water on the outside, when the low tide is lower, you open the sluice doors. So they are trying to tell Guyanese, and they're going on a PR blitz to trying to tell people between that 6 to 8 hours. There's only 7 pumps, there are 13 sluices, and a sluice does about 4 times the amount of work when it's open than a pump, because of course the area that is far bigger. They're trying to tell the Guyanese people the reason why we flooded is because of people are sleeping, which is bull the crap. It's hogwash. They just simply were caught off guard. They don't have a clue what they're doing. They've just been flying around the country, taking photo ops, sitting around in cabinet, figuring out who they want to knock off and who they don't want to knock off.
Well,
And they have
the vice
no
president, the
clue
installed vice president,
whatsoever.
said he don't go to cabinet meetings, so they don't be sent wrong cabinet.
All the contractors that you would have had, that you would have assigned areas to, because remember we did an amazing job at community involvement. So we had, as you just mentioned, in South, the persons from South who knew the areas, they would be responsible for looking after their section, the drains, the ministry, and would pay them just a stipend and provide transportation to carry it. But all of that was in place, and all of that used to be done every year in, year out. Dry season, in dry seasons, we used to dredge, we used to clear the waterway. They stopped all of that. They said, oh, the citizens of Thing are Apnoe AFC supporters, so therefore no one could do any work. Of course, now when you go into the South, and then they start to bring in their own supporters who hadn't a clue. So all they did was take the grass off. You mean there's weeds on top of the thing, and they pull the grass and put it in the carpet. You see those things. They just slap that for Independence Day. All they did is pull off the grass. No canals was dredged. No outfalls was cleared. Nothing at all. So, folks, the reality is that these guys are sleeping on the job, but then they're trying to blame pump attendants. Pump attendants, these guys work 24-hour shifts. 24-hour shifts, because it really is difficult to 24 hours. These poor guys are sitting on their 24-hour shifts, and they're being blamed for flooding in the city. The pumps, everybody is awake. Every single person is awake right now, all day today. And the place is still flooded. It'll be flooded tomorrow, the day after, and all the way into next week. I'm sorry to tell you that, folks, because they have no clue how to get the water off. All they are, and everything they do is just broke it up, broke it down, and then look to blame someone else.
Well said. Nicole had an intervention. Nicole?
Well, while Nicole is there, you know what I mean? They're other little. While Nicole's
Hello?
coming up. Hi, Nicole.
Yes. I just wanted to draw to your attention that MPs Christopher Jones and Annette Ferguson were at the back of Lamaha Springs, where they discovered that the Central Housing and Planning Authority was conducting some expansion for house lots, and all the stuff were dumped and left there, and it has clogged the drains, which backs the water up into Lamaha Springs, parts of South, and one of the Rhinevales. I think it was East or West Rhinevale. You understand? They checked, they saw the water. The residents themselves were out there complaining. The video is out. I think Randy showed part of it on his afternoon rush today. So that compounds the issue with the blockages and the not cleaning of the canals.
Yes, I know. And as you mentioned that, sure, there's something very interesting, you mean, that we have to talk about. Let's talk about the Kitty Pump and the one at Lilendal. Those two pump stations have two of the largest pumps in the country. Well, they're two largest in the city. Kitty in particular. Kitty has two pumps that is only on the very, very rarest occasion that both pumps can work together. And this is why there is a sump at the bottom of that pump house. There's a sump, and that has to be filled with water. Anybody knows that has to be filled with water, and then the pump throws the discharges over the seawall. The problem is that the pumps are so powerful that it drains the sump in about 20 minutes. And I challenge anybody, all of the ones that are talking and those things, to go to the Kitty pump station now when it's pumping, and you will see that no more than half an hour. The pumps don't run more than half an hour because, of course, what it does, it pumps out more water than it flows into it. So normally, what happens is that you would pump, and then when there's a signal and it's a float, when it drops below a level, you wait about 5-10 minutes. You turn off the pumps or you turn off both and let it walk, because the water to the pump is done by gravity. The water comes up Kitty, Vicention Road, it comes down Carifesta Avenue and those things like that, and it comes all the way from Queenstown and those areas like that. But that flows by gravity, you know what I mean? And it's only the differential is a couple inches. So what happens? No matter what, we've made it bigger, we tried to make it bigger and those things like that. This, because of all the restrictions, we had to pass on the bridges, weeds, and those things like that. The pumps, when they're working, when both are working, they would drain that sump in about 10 minutes, 15 minutes. When both pumps are working, drain the sump in 10 minutes. And you have to shut it off, if not the pumps will burn, if it doesn't have water. So I challenge anybody, any Singaporean, to go now. You can go down there. And sure, maybe it's something you could send one of your reporters to do. Go and you during the course of the day, anytime, because of course they're pumping, and you'll notice after like half an hour they have to shut off they shut off one pump. If they have both pumps running in 15 minutes, they have to shut off because the water to the sump, which is at the bottom of that thing, the water flow is not fast enough. What the Dutch people that you mentioned, when they came, they had recommended, and wasn't implemented, that we put intermediate pumps along the canals to speed up the flow of water to our outfalls, and that would help us. I mean, that would help drain. That was not done because gravity alone, be very, very low. Gravity alone is only, it's not very high. So the speed at which the water flows towards our outfalls, with all the encumbrances, all the garbage, all the bridges it has to cross, and those things like that. The gravity, the speed of the water discharging alone is not fast enough for the city because of, so we needed a bigger catchment area, as well as what they call lift pumps, which is all they would do is just speed up the flow towards the outfall. So guarantee you, don't worry about it saying, and this is something that no one can hide. It's not AP and UPPP, and see, nobody can hide. You just go and sit on the seawalls for half an hour and look at the pump, and you will see they have to turn it off because it cannot get it. The exact same thing happens in Lilendal. When if you have a look, there's a big pool reservoir in front of those pumps, you can, if you look at it when it's working, that the level of that reservoir is way lower than the canals that you see over the road, purely because the pumps suck more than the water, the speed of the water. So at any one time, you can actually go to, if you're there at the right time, you can go to the kitchen and say, oh no, it's not working. But it's not as it's working. The pumps have to, the water has to fill up the reservoir before you can pump it out. But of course, these guys are just mischievous. They spend an entire day blaming the flooding of the city on 7 pump attendants. 7 pump attendants. There's no way.
As we run there on the pump attendant, and we know this is a tireless, thankless job. A pump attendant has never gotten a medal service in this country. Never. That being said, one of the pump attendants that the installed president visited last night was surprised to see him because he knows that hour the president is usually fishing. Irfan is usually fishing. But the man spoke out this afternoon. I want you to take a listen to it. I want to get your reaction afterwards. Let's take a listen.
For the records, can you give your name and your designation?
Calvin Joseph.
And what is your designation?
Working at Riverview Street. I live in 7C Riverview, same area. 7C.
Okay. So for the last time, can you just tell us what happened last night?
Last night the president came in.
Around what time?
The exact time was 10 for 5 direct time. I was when we left to watch. 10 for 5. Yeah. I had on the phone. So the school door is low with timing. We have to open it. I had on the phone. So I turned out the phone. Before he come, I make 2 back in the thing. So I'm relaxing to when Coco went to do. And the pain is that when Coco went. When he come now and start going on, hey, every Coco, you see what's talking about? You want to hear, no, what this, no, this, I want to know this, I want to know that. I said, boss, man, I just turn the pump hot at that. Even when the guys turn, say, man, the pump hot. I turn out the pump, it just turn out the pump, waiting for when the school door blow. Waiting for when the school door blow. And before you can reach out to the car, I don't start opening up for it. I don't start opening. So back shit like this morning. Open up 11:30 this is the thing. I get scared. I can really eat not only. I can bring out the eat not nothing. Come out, come in, Mr. Bat, come out, and go come in. You just don't mistake. You know what I'm saying. You're not proud of anything. I am not a problem. I don't get it.
You have a good food, name and rest, be more vigilant,
Yes.
and ensure the door open, get the pump on.
David, that goes to what you have been saying, that these pumps have to rest. The man said he told him, feel the pump and you'll feel the pump is on. Understand me? You don't got to carry on, sir, big man.
Look, Sherrod. We know it's a game, right? We know that out they're just bluffing. Let us see what the excuse they'll use tomorrow. Because we're expecting more rain. And we're expecting more rain when the CDC is giving an advisory already, saying, and I want to repeat it, persons in low-lying areas, please take care. There a lot of rain is on the way. So let us see what the excuse will be tomorrow, because they're going to run out of it. They're going to run out of excuses. They'll come up with some fancy theory that I don't know, that the AP and UAFC blocking the drains or something like that, city council sabotaging. Let us see what will be the president and Ejel and all of them excuse tomorrow when the rains come tonight and they flood it up. If they blame the city council, because if they blame these poor pump attendants, and that is the crux of the matter. They haven't come up with unlike when we were there, we would say to the people, this is what we intend to do. not blame pump attendants and those things and threaten these poor guys about court and those things like that. This is what we're going to do. Up to now, they have not said, here is what the government will do to alleviate the flooding that will come. It will come because the rains are here. The land is already soaked and saturated. So you will get more. All our canals are filled. We will get more flooding. I mean, they haven't said anything. They've sent 3 pumps to Blackbush, Pola, Maibikiri, and those places like that because they need them. They didn't tell us where they get these pumps from. They had similar situations, we went to the CDC. CDC had some mobile pumps. And exactly what I was telling you earlier about lift pumping, we went to the CDC, and then there were areas that we found that restricted the flow of the water, such like in Queenstown. If you know, if anybody could recall, I mean, when you're coming over from Irving Street to from Queenstown, Irving Street to between around Krong Street, but Krong Street is as we call it right, GCC. What we actually did, we brought some smaller pumps and we assisted the water flow by pumping into the main canals from all the smaller canals to increase the volume flow. They haven't done anything. They haven't said they're going to do anything. So I don't know what and who they're going to blame tomorrow morning, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday. And you'll see all of them on Facebook still referring to the 3 pump attendants or 2 pump attendants last night. They have not a clue. You have to remember that these guys were there before. They do not have any interest in Georgetown. They have a battle to go now with the city council, which is absolutely asinine because the city, most of them lives in Georgetown. Most of these ministers and those things like that, they're supposed to only live in Georgetown. So why fight the city council over drainage? Why sit down and blame? Because even if you want to say the city council is doing a bad job, you have to assist them because when you flood, you don't only flood the city council's yard, you don't only flood the APNU, AFC's officials and MPs yard, you flood the entire Georgetown, right? And they've tried this before. They've tried starving the city council of expenses. You remember the garbage? You can remember there was one minister who got up and said that he hopes the pandemic breaks out in Georgetown because the Georgetown votes for the APNU AFC. They've tried it before and it was unsuccessful. I don't know why. I don't know why they think that fighting with the city council will give them a different result. It will not. And we recognize that. And I also want to tell you this, while we were there, every NDC and municipality that needed help, we helped everyone. We never even bothered to say, because irrespective of who they voted for, it's our country. It's a reflection of Guyana. Guyana now is supposed to be the Dubai of the Caribbean. And look at us now. We talking about, oh gosh, how much percentage of the GDP has risen and all these things. And then you look at the country, at the capital city, and it's underwater, garbage floating everywhere. And obviously, that's the image that they're quite pleased to think. And I don't know how they can satisfy themselves by going and using the excuse, oh, it's opposition controls the city council. It's our city. It is our city, and we have to take care of it all.
David, the challenge to that is that lots of the areas that they have the control of, the NDCs and the RDCs, are flooded equally.
Yes, I know. So what they do and what they will do and what they'll spend the rest of the week doing is sit down trying to blame. And you go on Facebook right now, you hear them they're saying it out that the city council and the opposition. Why would I go and block a drain when I live on this street? Why would I flood my own yard? Why would I flood my own supporters' yard? Right? Because South Georgetown is flooded. South Georgetown predominantly coalition areas. Why would we put in this period when every single thing is so hard and stressful? Prices gone up. They're firing people.
And this was before the flood. This was long before the flood.
Long before the flood. Why do you think we want to, even on this particular hard guava season, put more stress onto our people? Just, I mean, come on. You know what I mean? But they you know what I mean, they will spend, you look at the tomorrow papers, you know, they'll attack Patterson, saying that they said that they try to debunk what I'm saying and those things like that. We are a system, and everybody, irrespective of whatever it is, begrudgingly knows that it worked. It worked, and it was working, but HLM disbanded every single thing, and they haven't come up with an alternative as yet. And that is the problem that we're facing here. So these guys are clueless. The only thing that they know to do is spread propaganda. And they're experts at that. Throwing filter on.
Sherrod, I fully support what MP Patterson said. I was working at Prime News when APN UAFC got into office. And guess what? He's correct when he said 2 of the sluices or the canals run through private entities, because you know what was the first thing he did? He called on the media, and all of the media had to follow him from Agricola straight to Cummins Lodger, the outfall tunnel. All he visited. And we were tired that day. And he did an assessment of everything, all the canals, and then lend assistance. And what he's saying, they're running their mouths, they're blaming everybody. Not one of them coming forward to say the NDIA will assist City Hall. They refuse to give assistance to the city. And Sarah Ann Lynch and all of the ABC representatives and the NGOs and all the business community, they should come out, because when we were taken to those 2 private entities that the canal were running through, they were filled with bottles and all kinds of garbage that had to be cleaned. It took them days to get it clean. I have pictures to support it, because I took picture of myself being out there. And I know MP Patterson will remember going on those visits.
Correct. You know what I mean? Correct. There was garbage and there was this. I mean, I was a minister then. Unheard of in any part of the world is you have a sluice, which is the public, and the guard says, Sir Robs, I can remember there with the late Walter Willis. And I asked him, Walter, what's going on here? He says, well, boss, this is how it's been. We were told not to go there before. I said, well, let's go. I think Nicole and all of you, because I marched past them and they called the owner, and he met us out there and he explained to us that this, and they had to spend a tremendous amount of time to clear it. I mean, I remember in 2015 issuing an ultimatum. We're not at war, but I said to all the private businesses, because another thing that happened under the PPP, private businesses started encasing and enclosing alleyways and those things for parking and those and such things. And I said quite nicely to all of them, great, whatever it is, we come in and clean. It's up to you to, if you have anything in the way, we breaking it and we cleaning. If you want to have anything valuable you want to move, you have 24 hours. Because after we did that visit, Nicole, dispatched a team. To their credit, when they realized that we were serious, everybody started breaking up all their encumbrances and those things like that and opening up all the gates. I mean, had guys who had gates over alleyways in Carmichael Street, in Waterloo Street, you made the alleyway, and they put a gate set out of thieves and those things like that. But all the alleyways were blocked up and those things like that. We did that, we fixed that. Where there were issues, we brought in pumps. You know what I mean? There issues, meaning Loiza on Princess Street. There was a big issue down there. We brought mobile pumps in. Not a single mobile pump has been deployed in Georgetown during this crisis. Why? That's nothing to do with pump attendants. We brought in emergency pumps. I wonder where they are now. We made NDIA and the Ministry of Public Infrastructure purchased emergency mobile pumps. so that we could actually we can do that. The and I want Nico, I want you to remember this as well. We set up every rainy season, every single rainy season, the 5 years at the pump station. We had sand and we had sandbags, free of cost.
Yes.
All you had to do is drive there and you pick up and there were persons there loading, filling the sandbags in. So anybody who felt it out that they are under pressure and water's coming out could have gone by the seawall. Nico, you can remember that. And you can go there and collect free cost sandbags if your area, if you felt uncomfortable with the rise of sand. Nothing these guys are doing.
Completely blocked with tons of garbage.
Nothing they're doing. All they're doing is getting up at midnight from wherever they've been and coming and set out, oh, it's pump attendant. But of course your viewers can remember these things, you know. So we don't it's not that I'm making it up, but you had rainy seasons come. We made an advisory. We said that look, if your area we're doing our best, but if you feel that you need protection, pass by the pump station, collect as many sandbags free of cost. And we had people from the special project unit. They're filling it in and they putting it on your donkey cart, on whatever it is, and whatever your car. People going home from work, they say, well, I'm not too sure. Because a lot of people said, what happens, Sherrod, is the roads are flooded. When the cars park, the wake, the water spills up. So a lot of people saying, even though their house and their yard not for this, when the vehicles pass, the wake of the vehicles splashing it, and we give them free sandbags just in case you want. Nothing, absolutely nothing is being done here other than blame pump attendants. Other than that.
David, as we look to program time, you've already said that it's going to get worse before it gets better in the coming days. I see the CDC saying to Region 7 residents that their mudslides are expected. They're asking them to move to higher ground in some areas. We have a wounded nation. It's COVID. It's the pandemic call, the PPP. It's the flood. What do you say to the people of this country this evening?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, on the issue of the pandemic, I'm asking you to be safe, social distance, wear masks, get vaccinated, and those things like that. Ladies and gentlemen, COVID is real. On the issue in floods, all I can say, ladies and gentlemen, protect yourself. I mean, when this thing started, I could remember, let me give you a description. When the rain started over the weekend, I got a call from a lady in our boys' tongue. And she just called me out of frustration because she reported that she became accustomed previous to the AP and UFT. Whenever it rained, she would put her furniture on blocks or whatever it is, just as a precaution. And she became accustomed over the last 5 years, not being scared or not being diligent enough to put her furniture up and her fridge up and those things like that. Everybody, Nico, you remember that when the rain falls in certain areas, right away.
Oh, yeah.
She called out of frustration over the weekend to say to me, she's frustrated because she forgot, complacency. She thought that, even though the government has changed, you have a new government, that the systems that would remain in place, because she's flooded out right now. So my advice to the people, take the pre-2015 precautions that you had. By the time these guys figure out what to do, your house will be underwater. I hope that I'm wrong, but the reality is that you should take the precautions.
As you said that, it was sending chills up my spine, because we have been saying, based on the actions of the PPP, they want to take us back to pre-2015. All of their policies, their actions suggest that. Cocaine come back, everything come back. The degradation come back. And to hear you say, prepare yourself the way you did it pre-2015, it is chilling, David.
No, Sharon is absolutely clear, because under our coalition, we had no demarcation between government when it comes to drainage, garbage. We never ever gather. You've never heard us say to town council and a Regina, if they have a garbage issue, no, you are, it's municipality's fault. We sat down, we worked with them. There's
Not
a drainage
one of
issue,
the
and you
MDC
work with them
or
because, of course, it's a
mayor
reflection of your
and
country.
city council complained under the APN UAFC.
Not,
Not
not
one.
one. Not a single city council or entity complained about being starved of things. That there's a sluice in Little Diamond. Twice it's broken away. The PPP said, oh, they're going to put up a metal door sluice. Remember in Little Diamond, twice it's broken away. I know they're blaming the contractors. They're blaming the overseers and those things like that. Never, ever, ever on us. Because you must inspect the work. You must do it right. You can't go and get a cowboy or a baker. If you give your friend to do a work and such important stuff. Never, ever. But I want people to remember, but don't take my thing. Just cause not so long ago, you remember what used to happen. You remember, and then you can all recall all interventions that we would have made, and you compare to what these guys are doing. They're going to go on a TV all day and talk. I guarantee you, he's probably on one of NCN.
He's
talking
incompetent.
Yes, talking about LPNU and Patterson this and Patterson get up and say for, but the president, and so 3 people he said he saw sleeping. I told him that never ever happened because we never even entrusted, supervision. You have to supervise everybody. You have to have checks and balances. Somebody is somebody. It's just like in anything you do. You buy an iPhone, you see it before you actually get the final product, but 8 would have checked it off. That's how a system works. You don't leave it up to one person. Lord forbid something happens to the fella, he gets COVID and he's under pressure and he faints. Hard times now, he can't eat because every piece of food item gone up. And that pump attender goes to work and faints, gets a heart attack. Are you telling me that is the end of it? You have to have persons checking and double checking. A pump breaks down. If the pump breaks down, if the pump runs, if fuel, if you have a clog, if you need a filter in the middle of the night, somebody has to be checking the system. But no, they dismantle every single thing. Every single thing. And then, of course, now sit down there, spend the entire day saying that we playing politics with them. We don't play politics. As a government, as a coalition, we don't play politics with these sort of things. There's lots of things we can do with playing politics. Not water, not drainage. We are below the sea level. We have to take this very, very seriously, Sherrod.
Thanks very much, David. Former Minister of Infrastructure, current Member of Parliament, and Chairman of the Public Accounts Committee. But I don't even know if we remember Parliament because they have prorogued Parliament. I can see the Speaker sit down there probably praying that the conference center at Leondale floods or the National Assembly at the head of breakdown this. He has another excuse why we cannot have Parliament. Thank you, sir.
Oh, you're most welcome. Thank you, Shara. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, viewers, for having me. Remember, check for yourself, Google for yourself. You know what used to happen versus what it is. And don't allow them to BS us about pump attendants. Let us see why we flood tomorrow and Wednesday. Who pump attendant they'll blame. Good night.
Thanks very much. Nicole, the final word goes to you.
Oh, stay safe, Guyanese. And for those, take the instructions of former Minister David Patterson, current Member of Parliament. Stay safe, wash your hands, wear your mask, get vaccinated, and raise your furniture and try to get sandbags and bolster up yourself for any flood that may be coming your way.
And remember, guys, sanitize, put on your mask, social distance, and practice all the other COVID-19 protocols that are there for your health and your safety. Thanks for joining us. We're in the ring again tomorrow evening at 8. Thanks for joining. Nicole, thanks as well.
Most welcome.